Alright, well that is certainly a way to start this guy's route. Chapter 1, Every Piece is a Pawn. I still can't get over his hair. Because all I'm picturing is now him in the morning with a bunch of gel and a comb, meticulously crafting that hairdo. And this is just like his normal hair. It's amazing.
Just take your time. Don't push yourself.
I was still shaking as Reuben wrapped a thick, fuzzy throw around my shoulders. Then he retreated to the kitchen to put water on for tea. Or maybe coffee. I curled into a ball, trying to ignore that Reuben was watching me between preparing the kettle. He didn't press me for information yet. He was either a consummate professional or else very kind. Or both. Professional, if I judge by the way he took it in stride that someone dropped into his place out of the literal air. But maybe he'd just seen weirder in his line of work. I let out a soft groan and doubled over, gripping my head as I tried to stave off the agony long enough to explain all this. He hadn't asked yet, but he would. Where... I'm sorry. I don't even know where I am. Is this... New Albion? Surprise flickered over Reuben's face as he glanced up at me. It was replaced by a frown before he went back to what he was doing.
I live in Cerna. Erida, to be specific. I arrived back home a couple of hours ago.
Okay, so you live in Cerna. Cerna? I ran my fingertips over my brow bone, trying to massage away the pain enough to think. How far was that from where I'd been? You know, it's been a while since I read up on Cerna. So a nation located east of New Albion, made up of nearly 40 domes, 5 of which are megacities, Cerna has a population of 156 million people, and is slightly smaller than New Albion, but like Afra, it is a member of the Triad. They are on slightly friendlier terms with Delphine, and being that it is closer to the Twilight region as well, most people who travel between the two sides of the planet go through Cerna. It has more ports of entry and exit than any other nation on the day side, with lighter regulations and restrictions. Quite a few of its tertiary domes are unoccupied, officially, and non-functioning. There are a few unauthorized points of entry and departure in some of these domes. Okay. Good to just get that back.
I don't want you to push yourself, but... Oh.
He sighed, staring down at the bench top as he set a heavy mug there. He seemed to be struggling with what to say.
If I'm going to help you, I need to know what exactly is going on.
I am still trying to piece things together myself. Everything's a blur, but I think I'm in a lot of trouble. Tears sprang to my eyes, and I buried my face in my hands again. My chest tightened. No matter how much I attempted to not fall apart, I kept teetering on the brink of complete emotional collapse. The pain wasn't helping either. How did I explain this? I gulped air past the burning sensation in my chest, still feeling like it wasn't enough. I'm also curious how you're going to, hide out here, because I feel like Endgame could find you pretty easily, not to mention Nyx and all the rest. Just hold on a little longer. Reuben abandoned what he was doing and came to join me again when I failed to continue. I felt his weight on the sofa before a hesitant hand passed over my back.
You're all right. Whatever else is true, you're safe now. Just focus on breathing.
Thank you. But it was several more minutes before I was able to draw a deep and shaking breath, finally easing the ache in my chest. I clutched the blanket tight, swallowing past the lump to explain what happened. I'm unsure how believable any of this will be. It's been a weird day.
I'm not sure what you could throw at me that I'd struggle to believe at this point.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. It started after you and I had brunch, when I was on my way home. I swiped a palm across my eyes as I spoke. As absurd as it sounds, 2 men showed up out of nowhere and grabbed me. I didn't recognize either of them, but they were using the names Caleb and Ari for each other. They forced me into a car and started driving, saying there were people chasing us.
Who was chasing you?
I'm not sure. They seemed tense. Not really frantic, but none of it seemed like an act. I let out a hollow laugh, realizing how unrealistic all this sounded. I can't say for sure what happened to the car we were in after that. I think they attempted to drive it into a wall. We teleported out of it at the last minute. I'm not sure where we went. It was an abandoned sector. It might have been Sector 1, where those attacks were last year. There was no one else there, and we were in some half-overgrown building. Reuben was silent a moment.
In Sysalis yesterday, there was a vehicle collision that caused a significant explosion. It seems like the power cell overloaded at the moment of impact. And there were no bodies in the wreckage.
He rubbed his lower lip thoughtfully. They said the explosion was to conceal some kind of distortion trail caused by the teleportation. They didn't want anyone to know where we went.
From that location to Sector 1 is 12 to 15 kilometers. That's a hell of a teleportation range for a night. Sector 1.
His eyes went far away for a moment, darting side to side as if he was reading. He might have pulled up some information about it.
There was a report about some kind of disturbance in that sector of Sysalis as well. Just a brief, no actual details beyond the fact a building had collapsed, and there were signs of some sort of conflict.
Yeah, the collapsed building would be me. It was a vivarium complex.
That's right. What happened there? What sort of conflict?
I was ill from the teleportation, so they were waiting until I recovered. But we were attacked. They said something about other factions following us. Things were chaotic, and a lot happened at once. People were shooting, the building was shaking. This other Esper attacked us. Ari and Caleb were trying to protect me, I guess, but they couldn't. I tried to keep my voice steady as I spoke, but the emotion was creeping back in until Reuben set his hand on mine and gave me that same encouraging smile. He was used to this sort of thing, I guess. I stared down at my hands, picking at my nails. I guess I teleported out. I didn't know I could do something like that. But I was so scared, and I just wanted to be anywhere else. They thought I was a queen rank. I don't know why, but... And then I'd done something like that.
If that's the case, you must have mimicked that night instinctively when you panicked.
I nodded, unable to speak past the painful tightness in my throat.
So you teleported here from there?
Not exactly. I don't know where I was. Another abandoned place. I was running around there for... I can't say for how long. Hours. My nanosystem was scrambled at some point, so I can't say for sure. I think I was being pursued by something. A robot of some kind. I was just running and hiding. I kept having this horrifying feeling it was going to find me. It was raining and dark, and I didn't know where I was, and... Reuben pulled me into a very gentle hug as I started shaking, remembering the helplessness of being hunted as I crouched behind dumpsters to grab a few minutes of rest before moving again when I felt it getting close.
It's okay now. It's okay. You got away from it and made it to me. I doubt it can follow you again.
I was trying so hard to not lose it, and it was so much more difficult when he was being kind and understanding. Aww.
You said it was raining when you were... We haven't had a rain event in 2 days, so you must have teleported from relatively far away. Somewhere abandoned, but with programmed weather still.
After a while, I encountered someone else there.
Another pursuer?
No, it was someone I sort of know. It was Jack, The man I met at the fountain that day. The one that helped me. The Delphinian man we couldn't find any information on. I mean, he obviously was following me around as well.
Seems like a lot of people were keeping an eye on you.
Too many.
I've always thought popularity was overrated.
I let out a pained laugh. Tell me about it.
How did Jack find you in that abandoned district? Did he say?
I don't remember. I was a mess at that point. But he offered to get me out of there, and I didn't have much choice but to accept. I figured I'd find a way to ditch him later on. Which probably sounds...
like the smart thing to do. In this kind of situation, it's wise to be careful who you trust.
I guess so. I'm unsure how long we drove after that. I was in and out of it, due to psi fatigue, from what Jack said. When we were near Arelli, we stopped at a cafe, and Jack gave me a little more information. Who knows how much was true. He claimed to be affiliated with the court, and said that Ari and Caleb are with Endgame. Which, on closer inspection, might make sense, given some of what I overheard. Anyway, I tried to slip away when he left me alone for a few minutes. He chased me, and I think there were others too. There was gunfire, and I panicked again. Just like before, I could only think of getting to a safe place. That's when your image popped into my head, and... I don't know, I ended up here. Sorry I fell on you. Reuben let out a soft chuckle, moving a lock of frizzing hair out of my eyes.
That isn't something you have to apologize for. Though I'll admit someone materializing out of thin air in my flat is a first. But I'm glad that when you thought of safety, you thought of me.
Aw. Another thoughtful frown crossed his face.
What was it that made you believe Jack might be telling the truth about Endgame?
Well, just small things. Like, at one point Caleb mentioned a tower, that they were getting instructions from there. Reuben's expression went dark, his brows drawing together as a displeased look crossed his face. They did seem very... professional. Like they're used to high-stress situations and... combat? Most of what I picked up was from their interactions with each other. Like my being a queen. I didn't believe them at first, but... I guess it must be true. Somehow a broken laugh escaped through the exhaustion, pain, and overwhelming despair. I've never done anything like teleporting or high-level telekinesis. Never.
But you were at least aware you were an Esper, yeah?
His voice was very soft when he said that. Soft but certain.
I remember mentioning it when we spoke, but...
I knew. I'm sorry. I hid it.
Hey, no, don't be sorry. That... ugh. Morgan, that wasn't an accusation. I'm sorry if it sounded that way.
He drew me close again, stroking my shoulder as I let out another pathetic little sob. This guy is such a good comforter, my goodness.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said it like that. It doesn't matter if you're an Esper or not. You don't deserve to be apprehended off the street like that.
I don't want them to find me again, Reuben. I don't even know what's happening anymore. They could be tracking me, and you might be in danger, and I dragged you into...
Whoa, hey. Don't worry about me.
Reuben took me carefully by the shoulders and pulled away so he could look me in the eye.
Morgan, my job is protecting civilians. And sometimes that's dangerous.
But...
Listen, I'm more worried about you. You look like hell. No offense. Psi fatigue can be serious. Especially for an Esper who is just learning about their abilities. I'd like to get you to a hospital.
No! No. Please. I clutched his shirt, unwilling to go somewhere I couldn't help but feel I'd be an easy target.
Okay. You don't seem like you're in any danger right this minute, so we can hold off. But you're going to need medical treatment at some point. Maybe it would be best to get you into a more stable situation first, though. It's lucky Winter and I headed back to Cerna earlier. Probably better to be here for now than New Albion. Might give us a little time before anyone finds you.
What happens now?
First, you get some rest. When you're awake, we can talk more. I'll look into the situation, see what I can find out on my own, and we'll go from there.
I hesitated because I didn't know what sleep would bring. I didn't know where I would be when I woke up, or who I would be with. But I was so tired and I just wasn't sure I could.
Morgan, it's okay. I promise you that nothing will happen to you while you're here. You're safe now.
I wasn't sure I could trust that, but his voice was so reassuring. Maybe he was right. I slumped against him, eyes shutting as every shred of strength helping me hold out against the pain and fatigue evaporated at once. Reuben shifted and, before I could protest, tipped me back as his arm slid under my body. He stood with me curled against him, head flopping against his shoulder. "All right, bridal carry, ahoy!" I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about all this. Sorry for just appearing and dumping all this on you. I felt a soft chuckle vibrate through me as he walked from the well-lit living area to what must have been a bedroom.
You think I'm the type of man to complain when the sky opens up and drops an intelligent and charming woman in my lap?
Well, dang, you old smoothie. I would have smiled if I had the energy. Okay, this guy also has an appreciation for plants. We like it. This is a very cozy bedroom. He laid me on a soft bed that somehow made me terribly aware of how much my body was aching. There was the rustling of fabric as he pulled blankets over me.
Get some sleep. When you're awake again, we'll talk more. I'll leave the door open in case you need anything.
I was already fading when he retreated. I kept drifting off, only to jolt awake again in a panic. But every time I saw I was still at Reuben's place, I fell back into exhaustion-fueled sleep. That dull pulse of pain at the back of my skull was ever present, even in my dreams. Oh, he even changed you. How nice. I like the shirt. Light was filtering into the room when I woke properly again. My head was still throbbing, but it wasn't as excruciating. Both eyes hurt like someone was squeezing them, though. Relief washed over me when I realized I was in the same bedroom as before. For a while, the sounds of late morning soothed the anxiety to the point the pounding pain subsided somewhat. Cars outside, the low thrum of voices, birds. I listened to it all for a long time, but finally I sat up, rubbing my head as I looked around. I ran my hands down the front of the unfamiliar shirt I was wearing, wondering if Reuben had changed my clothes while I was sleeping. That felt out of character for him, and a faint memory tugged at the back of my mind. I had a vague recollection of fumbling through changing at some point. I must have stolen it from his closet when the discomfort of my clothes sticking to me got too uncomfortable. I don't want to wear this. What do we got for clothes? This shirt. Yeah, that works. I'm gonna put that on. Morgan, I love you. The memory only filtered in fragments. Stumbling to the closet, getting stuck in my shirt as I tried to shed it, then falling back into bed with his shirt hanging off me. I staggered to my feet, noting I'd left my clothes strewn on the floor last night. I'm a terrible guest. I would get those in a moment, but I wanted an update on my situation first. Like a zombie, I shambled to the bedroom door, pausing to rest against the frame before wandering down the hall. Has he seen you in his shirt yet? Because I feel like he might need a bit of warning. I passed another bedroom, a bathroom, and a home office on my way to the living area where I heard Reuben's voice. Did he sleep at all? Ooh, I like the colored shirt you're wearing. Very crimson of you. Reuben was in the kitchen, leaning against the bench and talking to someone as he sipped from a mug of what I assumed was coffee. The scent of it still lingered in the air. Our eyes met and his voice trailed off as he stared. I don't blame him. I bet I look horrible. Girl, if you came out in just wearing his shirt, like, I'd be bothered. Like, I mean, like, hot and bothered, that kind of bothered. So, you know, I can only imagine. I was still dirty, my hair was a tangled mess, and all that crying probably left my face puffy. I don't know, girl. Your eye makeup game is on point, so... He's like, what am I doing?
What? Oh, yes. Sorry. Winter, I'll call you back. She's awake. Right. Yes. We'll talk later.
Yeah, don't think I didn't notice that blush, sir. And then he was striding across the room toward me.
Morgan, are you okay?
Yes, I think. I borrowed your shirt. I think I was uncomfortable at some point. Sorry. I barely remember.
No, it's not a problem. I should have found you something dry to wear before you went to sleep. I just assumed you might be too tired. That's my fault. How are you feeling?
Like someone dropped a building on me, honestly.
That's fair, I suppose.
What's the situation right now?
Did you get up just to check on that?
Yes, but I've been awake for a little while anyway.
The situation is stable, and you're not going anywhere for the time being, so you don't need to get up yet.
Once my body decides it's time to get up, I don't have much choice but to do it. He gave me a regretful smile, then drained his mug and returned to the kitchen to rinse it.
That is such a new Albionian...
Albionin? Albionin. Okay, I was gonna say Albionian.
That is such a new Albionian thing to say. I swear no one I've met from that place knows how to just rest.
It's a very productivity-oriented society.
Since you're up, maybe you'd like to clean up a little then. You might feel better after a shower.
He went to the sofa and picked up 2 small shopping bags, holding them out. I took them, brain struggling to keep up. What's this?
Winter. You remember him, I assume. He picked these up for you earlier. I figured you'd need something clean to wear.
Alright, new outfits! Winter, what kind of, taste you got in clothes?
Your clothes were in pretty sorry shape, so even if we give them a wash, they may be beyond help. And anything of mine is going to be too big.
Thank you. I'd have to ask how much they spent so I could pay them back later. But first... I hesitated and looked up at him. His eyes were fixed off to the side, and I assumed he might be talking to someone or checking something. He noticed me watching him right away, eyebrows going up expectantly. Can I ask what stable means?
It means no one's coming here to find you for now. I'm not sure if Endgame has worked out your location, but they most definitely know you're currently being sheltered by the TPPS, Triad Protected Persons Service.
My eyes went wide. I hadn't expected that, though I wasn't sure what I had expected.
You've been granted temporary emergency protection, but it can be extended once we get some information and documentation from you.
Ooh, you're under protection, girl. I like that for you. I took a slow breath, trying to wrap my mind around that. It made sense. It was a lot. Reuben set a hand on my shoulder, giving it a gentle squeeze.
Why don't you go shower first? In the meantime, I'll make you something to eat. Then I'll catch you up on the full scope of what's been happening the last few hours. How does that sound?
I nodded hesitantly, one hand to my forehead.
You going to be okay?
Yes. I really am feeling a lot better. I still have a headache, though. Yeah, she's recovering pretty quickly, all things considered. Well, there was more to it than that. The dizziness, nausea. But it was better. I felt at least half human now.
The psi fatigue worries me, but if you're feeling better, then we can take care of it later.
I nodded again, still feeling a little numb. I think I'll try a shower for now.
There are towels and everything in there. You can call me if you need anything else.
Thank you.
No need, but you're welcome.
I clutched the bags to my chest and made my way to the bathroom, feeling like he was watching me until I disappeared down the hall. Like he was afraid I'd collapse at any moment. Oh, he's got similar shower taste to Quill, I see. I approve. A shower was definitely what I needed. The hot water and steam were amazing. Letting the water drum down on my head and the back of my neck reduced the pain to a dull knot at the base of my skull. The sluggishness didn't fully relent, and the nausea remained biting and uncomfortable. Both were better than yesterday, though. I couldn't say how much was psi fatigue and how much was tension and everything else. The head pain had been the most pressing problem for a while, but my entire body ached from all the running and being thrown around. My feet were bruised and cut up. My hands, arms, back. I was a mess. Ugh, it really was a terrible day. But it all faded to a dreamlike memory behind the warmth, steam, and airy smell of whatever soap Reuben used. I could almost believe it was just that if I shut my eyes and imagined myself back at my own place. Almost. But as comforting as it was to huddle in the soothing steam, I couldn't stay forever. I finally shut the water off and stepped out of the shower, grabbing a towel to wrap myself in. Not that it felt like the world wasn't crashing down. Now that it felt like the world wasn't crashing down, I could contemplate what I needed to do next. Oh, my nanosystem's working again. Well, that is a rarity, girl. That is... Has that ever happened this early? I don't think so. Usually you've got, like, trust you gotta earn, or you gotta hide it for your protection, yada yada yada. But hey, I'm happy for you. I hadn't realized until I tried to check the time. There was one message saying my groceries had been delivered. Ugh. The delivery was most likely still sitting in the hall, going bad. Probably the least of my problems, but still annoying. I huffed as I went through the bags Reuben had given me. I would have to thank Winter later. Ooh! Winter! I like it! I'm a fan. This is a very nice color. And the style, yeah. Alright, Winter. I give you a point for that. Good choice. And after what felt like all too short a time, I headed back into the living room so Reuben could catch me up on my situation. My head was... not great, but maybe I'd ask for some kind of painkiller.